What are some of my favorite books that I've read last year? Coming up. Hello and welcome back to the Freelanceverse. Today I have a whole new setup. I don't know if you can tell, I have a light now on the tripod. This probably takes some adjusting over the next video, so it's probably not perfect yet. As you can see, today I have a bunch of books with me that I want to talk to you about. I thought I want to make a video about the books that I've read mostly in the last year, that I enjoyed very much, and I thought I'd share it with you, because I always like to see these videos to get new inspiration for what to read. Because if you are like me, a translator, you probably also like to read a lot. So let's get right into it with the book that I'm currently reading. This is called How the World Thinks by Julian Baggini, I think. I thought it's pronounced Italian, but he's actually British. So it is Julian Baggini. It's a philosophy book, but it is kind of for beginners because I'm not versed at all in philosophy, but I'm very interested in it more and more in the recent years. So I wanted to read a philosophy book that is not a typical one that you have to read at school. I'm only about almost halfway through by now. And you don't really need to be an experienced philosophy reader. Julian makes it very easy for everyone to understand. Still, I have to read a couple of pages 2 times, 3 times to really understand what he's meaning, and it's definitely not a book that you can just read on the go, just in the background, basically. It's definitely a book to focus on. It explores various different philosophies, cultures, mainly from the East, so it doesn't focus on the Western philosophy that we are used to. There's a lot of Indian culture in here, a lot of Islamic, Chinese culture. I'm saying culture, that's actually also a big topic in the book. He makes a difference, or he explains the difference between philosophy, culture, and tradition, because these 3 things, they merge. If you really think about it, like, what is the difference for you? Like, it's very slight difference, and they merge a lot together. There's a lot of application to the modern day, because especially in Eastern societies, philosophy is much more like anchored in today's modern world. Like in Western philosophy, I feel like all these philosophers, that's something we learn at school, we are aware of their names, but in Indian philosophy, for example, this is a way of living, it's part of your life, right? It's based a lot on experiences from the authors. He goes to conferences in these countries. There is a very interesting, I think it was in an Indian philosophy conference, where he's sitting there and everyone in the audience is just chatting with each other, and someone is on stage explaining something and no one is really listening to him. And he finds it very weird, because here you wouldn't have that. You would just listen to the person speaking, right? So very real life application of philosophy. I can definitely recommend it if you're interested in this kind of stuff. Moving on, book number 2 I wanted to talk to you is what I've read almost most of last year. I mean, I started this in the summer and I only finished it like early winter, because it's not that easy to read, but super interesting, and I wanted to read it very thoroughly. It's called Washington Black. It's by Ezi Edougian, I think she's called. She's a Canadian writer. I've just heard very good reviews of it, and I really like the cover, so I looked into it, and I mean, it's an amazing book, really. We follow the story of a young boy, 11-year-old boy, called Washington Black, hence the title. They call him Wash in the book. He's a slave boy in Barbados on a farm, and the beginning of the book is really just all about the cruelty and gruesomeness of slavery life back then, and it really explains it in detail. It's horrifying, but also very interesting to read. Crazy what these kids had to go through, and like suicide was just a daily occurrence there, because everyone they were talking amongst each other, and everyone said, like, whatever comes after death, it can't be worse than what we are going through right now, right? So incredibly gruesome start, and then it kind of takes a turn, and we follow the story of this young Wash, and he, through a couple of circumstances, he gets in touch with the brother of the slave owner called Titch, and this guy is building this thing that you see here on the cover. It's called a cloud cutter, and he needs help with that, so he asks his brother for a couple of kids for help. And instead of just treating them like actual slave kids, he gives them responsibility, especially Wash. He every day he brings them to the library for reading, and his life takes a weird twist, a weird turn, with still very, very bad and things happen to him, very brutal things happen to him, but at least he has a purpose. He's traveling, or even he's being hunted sometimes across the globe. So I really enjoyed this book. It is highly educational on one hand, about this time around 1830, this was in Barbados, but it's also highly entertaining. A great read, I can definitely recommend. Next book is Flowers for Algernon by Daniel Keyes. I think this is my favorite book. I think I can say this now. I've read it the second time last year and it was equally phenomenal. It's a great book. I love it for so many reasons. Also language-wise, when we are on this channel about languages and translation, I can't say too much about it because it would spoil a bit from the story, but how this book uses language as a rhetorical tool to tell the story and to transfer emotions is just incredible. It is touching, it makes you reflect on your own life, it makes you compassionate as well, I feel like. What it's about, we basically follow the story of, I think, around a 30-year-old, I don't know, maybe 32-year-old Charlie Gordon. He has an IQ of 68, so he is like clinically mentally disabled or mentally challenged, but he's super happy despite the fact, or maybe due to the fact, that he doesn't really understand what's going on around him. When people laugh at him, he thinks they're laughing with him, you know, so of course he's happy in that regard. And then he gets, through various circumstances again, he gets enrolled in a scientific program, in a medical program that's designed to make him smarter. And then this book is basically all the progress reports during this medical treatment with him, with this surgery. So everything in the book is written by him as a first person, like a diary basically. And it is so touching. It's incredibly well written, incredibly well thought through. So definitely, I think it's my favorite book. So if you want to pick it up, I'm gonna put links of all these books down below. That's definitely a book that I can recommend to anyone. Whatever you like to read usually, this is, for me, that's a must read. Next up is Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. This is a book that I've read early last year, maybe even in 2020, I'm not exactly sure. It definitely left a lasting impression. I can't wait to read it again. I'm gonna read it again this year, I think. It's a kind of a sci-fi novel, I would say. So if you like this kind of, but it's not, you know, like in space or something. It's just a different, the New York Times says, a mind-blowing sci-fi suspense love story mashup, which is exactly what I would describe it as well. It's about this guy, Jason. He is from Chicago, and one night he goes out for ice cream, I think, and his wife waits for him at home, and then he gets abducted in the middle of the night. And from then on, it just spirals into an amazing epic adventure with different universes. And this guy, after he's been abducted, he wakes up and in a life where he's basically another version of himself, right? He doesn't have his wife, or his wife is not his wife. She's still a person in this universe, but she's a single artist, so it's very interesting. His son has never been born. Someone else is living in his house. So of course he's extremely confused. And his whole purpose during the book is finding back to his real reality, but then he figures out like what is actually real, right? I'm also here in a different reality now. So yeah, especially if you believe, or if you can grasp this notion of the multiverse, this is an extremely good book. Very thrilling, action-packed, and very hard to put down. It's not a hard book to read, so don't expect any like high literature. In any books that I read mostly like easygoing books in terms of language, but it's definitely very hard to put down once you start. Can definitely recommend this. And the last book I want to mention, I don't have it here because I actually read it over Christmas at my parents' place, and it's there. I read it in German, but in English the title is The Café on the Edge of the World. It's a phenomenal little book. It's very quickly read. In like 2-3 days you're finished. It's really a book about the meaning of life in a way. So if you are kind of at this crossroad in your life and you start to think about this, it could be a book for you. It's about this guy John who just drives in a like nonsensical way, just drives through the night, and he finds this cafe called Café on the Edge of the World. He goes in there for a coffee. And everyone is a bit weird there. He asks for the menu, and the menu has basically 3 questions on them. Question 1 is, why are you here, I think? Let me check. Yes. Why are you here? Do you fear death? And are you fulfilled? These are the things on the menu. So of course he's very confused. He doesn't know what to order. And then it turns into this incredible story, great storytelling about life decisions, about, you know, lessons of gratefulness. It gives you perspective to your own life as well, because it's all based on stories, right? Every single question they answer with stories. And these stories are incredibly written, so it's basically like short stories within the book as well. It's by, I haven't even said the author, right? Let me just check it quickly. So it's by John Streletsky, an American author. I've just read that he self-published this and he didn't expect it to be successful, and then it was very successful and someone actually picked it up. But it's extremely successful in Germany, in Switzerland and Austria. By far more than any other. Like when you Google it, it almost only comes up in German, so maybe that's a thing, but maybe that's like a secret tip then I can give to all the non-German speakers. Great little book to pick up for sure. If you have like 2-3 days around Christmas, it's perfect when you're just at home anyways. There you go. These are the books that I've read recently and that I enjoyed very much. Now my next book will be a Gillian Hoffman novel, Nemesis it's called. She's probably my favorite crime thriller author. I've read already Retribution by her, Insomnia and Twisted Wing, I think they are called. It is quite gruesome, it's quite graphic. So for example, if you like Criminal Minds, for example, then you would like her as well. It's very thrilling. That's not basically a review, that's just the next book I'm going to read once I'm finished with the philosophy book. But the philosophy book will take me some more time because it's tough to read. Maybe I start this on the side as well as like an easygoing book, and the philosophy book as a way of learning new things. Let me know in the comments if you enjoy these videos. I don't know if these are useful or interesting to you. I always like to watch this from my favorite YouTubers, so I hope you enjoy this as well. Then if you do, I will make another one next year with the books I've read throughout the year. Alright then, thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I see you next Monday with the next one. Bye bye.